Mr. Gallagher has a very important meeting to get to. Yeah, but it should be very short. Gallagher's got to get out of here.
I got another meeting
Okay.
at 7 o'clock.
Who's missing? Ms. Conwell was here. Oh, she's here. Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order the Cuyahoga County Council regular meeting of August the 14th, 2012. Would you please rise? I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Calling the roll, Mr. Rogers. Here. Ms. Simon. Here. Mr. Greenspan. Here. Mr. Miller. Present. Mr. Brady. Present. Mr. Jumana.
Here.
Mr. Gallagher. Here. Mr. Schron.
Here.
Ms. Conwell. Here. Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Connolly. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For a moment of silence, I'd like to consider the many incidents of violence in our nation in the recent weeks. May we come to live in a nation where private citizens see no need to possess automatic weapons. Item 5 on the agenda is public comment related to the agenda. Has anyone signed in for public comment?
Yes, Madam President. Patrick Keenan is here to represent AmeriCab Transportation, and he wants to speak in regard to Resolution 2012-0164.
Mr. Keenan, would you like to come forward?
Good evening. Again, my name is Patrick Keenan. I'm the General Manager at AmeriCab Transportation Incorporated, and on the agenda tonight is the submission of the proposal that's been recommended to be awarded to our company for transportation with family services involving the transportation of dialysis patients. And I just wanted to make ourselves present to address any concerns that might arise during the discussion of that issue. And on background, we have served in that capacity on the previous 2 contracts for the last 4 years with great success, and we're committed to doing that, continue at success if we're fortunate enough in having the contract awarded to us tonight. And again, I'll be available if any questions do arise later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keenan. I believe that matter is being referred to committee, so you might want to come to the committee meeting, but thank you for your comments. Anyone else sign in for public comment?
No, Madam President, no one else has signed in.
Item 6, approval of the minutes. The minutes for the regular meeting of July 14th, 2012 are in your packet. If everyone's had an opportunity to read those, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes as circulated.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Conwell and seconded by Mr. Rogers. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The minutes are adopted. I just have one item for under the announcements. On Friday, this coming Friday, August the 17th, the RTA will have a kickoff for its Ready to Ride. It will be here in council chambers at 9 o'clock. We will be offering a free breakfast from RTA, and you can bring your own coffee mug, and they'll provide beverages. And they want to encourage people to ride the RTA. I think this is a wonderful program, and I have had an opportunity I ride the Rapid, not a lot, but probably I used to ride it more because I live at Shaker Square, so it is really a great opportunity. I mean, the Rapid is such a great thing. I can walk out of my house and get on the Rapid and go to the airport, and next time out, other parts of the world. I would like to, at some point in the near future, I've discussed it with staff, consider the possibility that council would entertain an ordinance or work with RTA to give additional support to county employees. Right now, there's a very, very minimal amount of money that a break that the employees get for taking public transportation, and perhaps if we would up that amount, that we could have more people using the RTA. So that's something we'll be discussing in the future, but we encourage everyone to be here on Friday morning. And that's it for my announcements. And Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I wanted to address with the council an issue that unfortunately we've been dealing with for the last year or so, or since we took offices, and that has to do with the way that we conduct our elections in Cuyahoga County and in Ohio in general. And unfortunately, a lot of issues that I thought should have been resolved decades ago or generations ago are for some reason, and I think I know what the reasons are, but for some reason are coming back to the fore again. So in particular, we dealt with these issues earlier regarding, or last year and earlier this year regarding absentee ballot applications. Now, we dealt with those last year. Now we're dealing with somewhat related issues when it comes to early voting. To quickly recap what happened in this county and all across Ohio, individual boards of elections had votes as to whether or not they were going to authorize early and extended hour voting hours before the November general election. In some counties, that passed unanimously by the boards of elections. And boards of elections in the state of Ohio are comprised of 4 members, and it's split evenly between the two parties, 2 and 2, 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. In some counties, there were split votes where it was 2 to 2. And in particular, that happened in all of the major urban centers in Ohio. So it happened in the Cincinnati area, in Franklin County, Columbus. It happened in Toledo. It happened in, I'm sorry, did not happen yet in Hamilton County. It may be happening soon. But it happened in Columbus, Toledo, Summit County, and also Cuyahoga County. In each of those counties, it's split along party lines 2 to 2, with Republican members voting no. In the cases, as you know, in cases of a tie vote with the Board of Elections, the Secretary of State casts the tie-breaking vote. In each of those 4 cases, John Husted, our Secretary of State, cast a vote in favor of not extending voting hours and having early voting, in particular the 3 days before the election, which has become a particularly vital period of time, especially in major urban centers. How do we know that? Because we know what happened in 2004. 2004, we did not have those options. We made national news, and not in a good way. We were a poster child nationally for how not to run an election. In 2008, because of vote by mail, which this council supported last year, and ended up winning that right for the entire state, and also because of early voting, we were able to avoid those problems at the polls in 2008, and the election was conducted efficiently, and it was much more effective in terms of counting everyone's votes. A few weeks ago, our county board of elections split again along party lines 2 to 2. Secretary Husted broke the tie in favor of not having extended voting hours. What's made a bad situation even worse is now this whole situation has become aggravated because other counties have now voted to have early voting, and now we're one of the counties that has explicitly been ruled not to be able to have early voting. So, for instance, Medina County is going to have early voting. Geauga County is going to have early voting. Now, how did that happen? Well, because their boards of elections did not deadlock 2 to 2. The Republican members of those boards of elections voted yes, and the Democratic members of those boards of elections voted yes. And now, those counties happen to vote generally have a majority Republican vote, but the Democratic members of those boards of elections did not believe that, for some partisan reason, they should restrict voting for that reason. Now, I know I'm talking about partisanship, but that's not to make a partisan point. It's just to really decry this whole situation that this has become a partisan issue. It should not be a partisan issue, just like voting by mail shouldn't be a partisan issue. We should have a clear and fair standard that is as openly accessible to as many people as possible to increase the amount of people that exercise their franchise. We're on August the 28th. There will be another meeting of our county board of elections, and I am urging the board of elections to reconsider their previous decision not to have early voting. We have the money to do it. It ended up costing the county, various early voting programs, about $100,000. It's already been budgeted. They had the money in their budget to do it. We know that it works. It's worked in previous years. We know that it's the right thing to do. It's the fair thing to do. And we did it in the primary this year. And one of the principles of efficient and fair elections is to be consistent. So what that means is by not having it in November, it means that if you were led to believe that you were able to vote early because you did in the primary, you're going to show up and try to do it in the fall, and you're not going to be able to do it. So it is not a consistent standard even with what we did earlier this year. And we have a system right now that I said that has just added insult to injury in that our surrounding counties their constituents are going to be able to vote early and our constituents are not. So whatever the arguments that persuaded two of our members of Board of Elections to vote against this, whatever they may be, those arguments have been weakened by the actions of other counties because we now have 24 counties in Ohio that are going to allow early voting, and the county that needs it the most isn't going to have it under the current situation. This is resulting, by the way, in litigation at several different levels, and there's a chance, by the way, that Cuyahoga County will be dragged into that litigation, or I should say the Board of Elections will be dragged into that litigation, which could end up costing us funds as well. I've instructed my law department to look at any possible legal avenues that we may have, and we're looking at that. Because I do think that this is, first of all, it's very timely. Everybody would agree, no matter where you stand politically, that this is an extremely important election, and we don't want to go through what we went through before in 2004. Now, whether or not we have legal remedies to force the Board of Elections to make this option available, we don't know yet, but I've instructed the law department to look at that. There's also a couple different lawsuits that have been filed by other entities. And it's a possibility, I suppose, that we would file a friend of the court brief, an amicus brief, because we agree with some of the relief that they have been seeking. But none of that will be necessary if on August 28th, our local Board of Elections does what it should do. So we had a press conference earlier today in front of the Board of Elections. I had a letter hand-delivered to the board officially asking them to reconsider their previous decision. And I think that it's incumbent upon this council also to take a very strong stand on this issue. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. I will also note that item 15 will be done at the end of the agenda because we need to have an executive session. Item 9, consideration of council for first reading and referral to committee, item 0022.
Motion number 2012-0022, a motion confirming the county executive's appointment of Jennifer Schofield to serve on the Cuyahoga County Natural Resource Assistant Council and declaring the necessity that this motion become immediately effective.
At this matter will be referred to the Human Resource Committee. Item 0023.
Motion 2012-0023, a motion confirming the county executive's appointment of Dr. Harry Graham to serve on the Cuyahoga Community College Board of Trustees and declaring the necessity that this motion become immediately effective.
At this matter will go to the Human Resource Committee. Item 10, committee reports and consideration of resolutions of council for second reading. Item 0130.
Resolution number 2012-0130, a resolution of providing for the submission to the electors of the County of Cuyahoga an amendment to Article 4, Section 1, and Article 5, Section 6 of the Charter of Cuyahoga County, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This item was discussed in the Committee of the Whole, and there was a vote at the Committee of the Whole to refer this matter to the Charter Review Commission. I don't think it's necessary, but we probably could vote again this evening to to refer this matter formally to the Charter Review Commission. So if there is a motion, then we can go forward. Moved by Ms. Conwell,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Shrine. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of sending this matter to the Charter Review Commission indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. This matter will be considered by the commission. Item 0131.
Resolution number 2012-0131, a resolution providing for the submission to the electors of the County of Cuyahoga an amendment to Article 2, Section 2.03, and Article 3, Section 3.09 of the Charter of Cuyahoga County, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This matter was discussed at the committee this afternoon at 1 o'clock, and it will be on for third reading on the 28th. And this matter is Mr. Schron's proposal that we place the having a 2-year the biennial budget will be part on the charter will be a charter amendment. So there's no action to be taken on this evening. Item 0132.
Resolution number 2012-0132, a resolution providing for the submission to the electors of the County of Cuyahoga an amendment to Article 5, Section 1, and Article 5, Section 4 of the Charter of Cuyahoga County, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
There was a very lively debate on this item in the Committee of the Whole this afternoon. This item has to do with amending the charter to provide that, originally proposed by Judge First of the Common Pleas Court, that the charter would be amended to allow for the clerk of the court to be appointed by the judges of the Common Pleas Court. Once again, there was a discussion on this, and there was a vote in the Committee of the Whole to refer this matter to the Charter Review Commission. So again, I think that we should take another vote this evening to formally, in formal session, refer this matter to the Charter Review Commission. Is there a motion to that effect?
I so move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Ms. Conwell. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor of sending this matter to the Charter Review Commission indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, you're opposed to having it sent to the Charter Review Commission. You would rather have it on the ballot now. Okay. All right, so it should be 10-1. Okay, we are now, I'm working off 2 agendas, so. Item 11. Item 11, consideration of resolutions of council for third reading. These are items that were proposed by council for the charter review. Item 0099.
Resolution number 2012-0099, a resolution providing for submission to the electors of Cuyahoga County an amendment to Article 6, Section 2 of the Charter of Cuyahoga County, and declaring necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Ms. Conwell. Is there any discussion?
Madam President.
Yes, Mr. Miller.
Madam President and my colleagues, this resolution substantially amends the charter language on the Board of Revision, which are the board that covers the appeals to the assessment of real property. And the current language lacks clarity and is incomplete, and the proposed amendment does the following. First, it distinguishes between the Board of Revision and the hearing boards. It provides that the Board of Revision shall be comprised of the executive, the fiscal officer, and one county council person providing a check and balance. It provides that the council may provide for the appointment of alternates. The Board of Revision is to administer the hearing process. The Board of Revision appoints the hearing boards subject to confirmation by council. The Board of Revision is to set qualifications to ensure that hearing board members are well qualified in appraisal, real estate, and/or law, and there is no language on political party in this version. It provides that the end dates of the hearing board shall be staggered and allows appointment of temporary boards. This would help the county avoid losing money maintaining boards with insufficient workload. And it provides for personnel administration and determination of compensation for administrative staff and hearing board members. This amendment greatly clarifies the Board of Revision language, improves efficiency, and saves money, and I ask for your support to place this amendment on the ballot.
Mr. Schrein?
Yes, Madam President. I wish to amend the Resolution 0099 with the following language, that the third sentence of the third paragraph of the proposed charter amendment in Section 1 shall be amended to add not more than 2 of whom may be of the same political party. Each between each hearing board shall consist of 3 residents of the county and appointed by the Board of Revisions, subject to confirmation by the council. I'll put that as the amendment, and hopefully there'll be a second.
Madam President?
Yes.
I think it's important that everybody have the chance to vote on this question separately, and therefore, for purposes of discussion, I'll second the amendment.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller. The original charter was passed overwhelmingly by this community. Though we represent that community and the 11 of us up here, I believe that the Charter Review Commission, as was identified as the action to make substantive changes, of which this council is recommending a substantive change in that they are eliminating political party that was spelled out in the original charter as one of the requirements within the Board of Revisions. As Mr. Miller has pointed out, the suggested changes that he is making, which I would support if separated, of a nature which amend, clarify, improve the process, improve the Board of Revisions, improve the hearing boards, identify alternates, have a specific method in which the indication of the people would be approved by this council and recommended by the executive branch. And the next time that these approvals and names would be coming forward would not be for another 2 years because of the terms currently in place, that the proper place for taking out substantive language of this nature, which was approved by the voters, was worked on by a number of volunteers who put forth this, belongs back in the Board of Revision, in the Charter Review Commission. The Charter Review Commission, we have sent them other meaningful pieces to work on in the hopes that they will identify the needs and where it belongs. This item specifically should be broken out. If we leave this one piece in place, why would we not be removing partisanship from the entire county charter except for this one section? So I would advocate that my colleagues would not take this and start to piecemeal the charter on this one subject, but allow that to be part of the Charter Review Commission. As we heard from the county executive, we are starting to move into partisan politics when we start taking this out. I don't know whether or not it was put in for that reason, what the background was to make sure that on the history of the experiences that we had with the prior county government, that their balance was having some relationship of making sure that parties were represented from both factions by the way they structured that. And I would advocate that this piece be separated outside and sent to the Charter Review Commission. All of the rest of the components I would support wholeheartedly if they were not linked to this component.
Madam President,
Simon?
I do not support this amendment, and for the reasons I've stated for the last 6 months, that the interjection of politics into a technical board did not serve us to find the best qualified person to sit on these boards. Unfortunately, this was an unintended consequence, and when you start to put politics into a technical board and going through that review process, it doesn't serve this body or this county. So I vehemently oppose the amendment, and hopefully my colleagues will agree. We vetted this through committee over several months.
All right, any other discussion on the amendment? Mr. Greenspan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support both my colleagues on this. I support the proposal to make the significant amendments to the Board of Revision itself. As chairing the committee, one of the charges when we voted on a matter was, does this matter provide clarity to the charter, and is it immediate in nature? And I believe that the operational component changes to the Board of Revision fall into both those categories. I do not believe that it is appropriate for us to surgically start addressing partisan language that was in the charter. If it is the intent of this council or the intent of the Charter Review Commission to remove party affiliation, then let's do it throughout the entire charter, including the CRC, which itself is appointed with party affiliation constraints in its composition. So let's be mindful of that, but if we're going to start strategically removing it, as I've said in the past, then let's remove it with a hatchet and eliminate party affiliation from the 13 elected positions, as well as committee appointments and other matters in the charter as it relates to party affiliation. So I will support the amendment. If the amendment fails, I will not support the charter amendment.
All right, any other discussions, Mr. Schwan?
Yeah, just one last point, that my colleague, Ms. Simon, was suggesting that this was an amendment, and it is an amendment to the way this is being presented. It is merely restoring and leaving it as exactly as the voters had passed this by every single precinct, every single community, every single aspect of this county passed this with the language that I am suggesting remain there until the Charter Review Commission has their opportunity to examine and study this. So when you talk about it being an amendment, it is more, we are amending to take it out than we are by leaving it as exactly as it was presented by the voters and passed.
Mr. Gallagher?
As I stated in our work session, this has been a problem. This is something I truly believe should go to the voters of all the issues in front of us. I don't agree with the way in which it's going. I respect my colleagues that passed it that way, and I think I will not support it that either this revision, which keeps everything the same, which goes to the heart of the problem in which we're dealing. So let's call the roll.
All right, on the amendment, Mr. Giswold?
I'd like to comment.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Germain.
Madam Chair, when the citizens of Cuyahoga County voted on the charter, they didn't get to pick and choose. You had to vote yes or no. So on all these charter amendments, I mean, we have lived it, we have worked. We're giving the people the choice. I don't think we can say everything in the charter, everybody agreed on every paragraph. As a whole, the charter was approved. We're trying to improve on it. And I think in this particular case, we're saying that we want the most qualified people on the board revision regardless of party. And that's my point.
Mr. Jones? I'm sorry, Mr. Rogers?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to also add that I think that there's somewhat of a difference between volunteer positions that are within the charter that specify party affiliation as opposed to hearing officers, which are employees of the county. So we are basically putting on a person's job application, asking them to specify what party they're from. I can't think of any other job unless you're running for a head of a political party where you have to identify your party affiliation in order to get a job. These are very technical positions within the county, and we've seen firsthand from our experience that party affiliation plays no role in identifying the property value of a house. So I don't see why this is something that, as Mr. Gallagher said, that we've witnessed firsthand has been a problem with the selection of candidates. We weren't able to get the most qualified people to fill these jobs, and these are actual employees. So we need to work to get the best qualified employee, and this has been a barrier to getting that.
All right, let's call the roll on.
Madam President, just a point of clarification. The Human Resource Commission is a paid position, and they are hired based on political affiliation. So just as a clarification point as far as paid employees of the county, full or part-time, the HRC falls into that category as
All
well.
right, let's call the roll on the amendment. Yes is for the amendment, no is against the amendment.
Calling the roll, Mr. Rogers? No. Ms. Simon? No. Mr. Greenspan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller? No. Mr. Brady?
No.
Mr. Germana? No. Mr. Gallagher? No. Mr. Schron?
Yes.
Ms. Conwell? No. Mr. Jones?
No.
Ms. Connolly?
No.
Motion fails 9-2.
All right, on the amendment fails, so we'll go back to the proposed item. Is there any further discussion on that? A yes vote would be to put it on the ballot, a no vote would be not to put it on the ballot or remove it. Then in the alternative, we could refer it to the commission. All right, you want to call the roll, please?
Calling the roll, Mr. Rogers?
No.
This is not to put on the ballot?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Ms. Simon?
Yes.
Mr. Greenspan? No. Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Germana?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
No.
Mr. Schron?
No.
Ms. Conwell?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Simon? Ms. Connolly?
Yes.
The vote is 6-4, yeas and nays. 7-4, I'm sorry.
Motion.
It fails.
It fails. The alternative vote would be to refer this matter to the Charter Review Commission. Is there a motion to send this to the Charter Review Commission?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gallagher and seconded by Mr. Schron to send this matter to the Charter Review Commission. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The matter will go to the Charter Review Commission. Item 0100.
Resolution number 2012-0100, a resolution providing for the submission to the electors of the County of Cuyahoga an amendment to Article 9, Section 1 of the Charter of Cuyahoga County and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Mr. Schron. Is there any discussion on this? This is an item that would change the configuration of the Human Resource Commission. A vote yes would be to put this matter onto the ballot. A vote no would be not to put it on the ballot, and the alternative refer it to the Human Resource Commission, or to the Charter Review Commission. Sorry. All right. Is there any discussion? All right. You want to call the roll, please?
Mr. Rogers? No. Ms. Simon?
No.
Mr. Greenspan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Germana?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
No.
Mr. Schron?
No.
Ms. Conwell?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
I need clarification. A yes vote
We'll place on the ballot.
and no is not on the ballot. No.
Ms. Connolly?
Yes.
Motion fails 6-5.
All right, is there a motion to refer this matter to the Charter Review Commission? So moved. Moved by Mr. Gallagher.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rogers. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
You're a no? Okay. So you would not want to send it to the Charter Review Commission? Okay. All right, that we can indicate 10 yes and 1 no. To send to the Charter Review Commission. Item 0101.
Resolution number 2012-0101, a resolution providing for submission to the electors of the County of Cuyahoga an amendment to Article 11, Sections 1 and 3 of the Charter of Cuyahoga County and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Schron and seconded by Mr. Miller. I have an amendment to this item. if you refer to page 39, this actually came out of one of our town hall meetings. This section of the charter provides that there be 2 private citizens named to the Internal Audit Committee. And at the suggestion of a private citizen at one of our town hall meetings, it was suggested that the terms of the 2 private citizens be staggered. And so I am offering an amendment to provide that the 2 terms, so the terms will not overlap. And I'd like, so I'm making a motion to amend the proposal. And if we have this, if this amendment passes, and we'll pass this until our next meeting so that the public and everybody can have an opportunity.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the amendment? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the proposed charter amendment is amended. And then we will just pass this to the meeting of August the 28th for further review. Okay, moving on to item 12, consideration of an ordinance for first reading and referral to committee, item 0022.
Ordinance number 2012-0022, an ordinance designating an additional 5% of all collections of delinquent real property, personal property, and manufactured and mobile home taxes and assessments to be deposited in the Delinquent Tax and Assessment Collection Fund, and appropriating such amount to the use of the Cuyahoga County Land Utilization Corporation.
This matter will be referred to the Finance Committee. And I believe that Mr. Miller wanted his name added on this as a co-sponsor. Who else did other people say it?
It's on there.
Okay, all right. Okay, it wasn't on mine. Oh, it is on yours. I'm working off of two different agendas. All right, item 13, consideration of an ordinance of council for third reading.
Ordinance number 2012-0005, an ordinance prohibiting inquiries about or consideration of criminal convictions of applicants for Cuyahoga County employment positions until the applicant has been offered conditional employment, establishing the criterion under which criminal records may be considered, and establishing exceptions.
To adopt. Second.
Moved by Mr. Rogers and seconded by Mr. Jones. I'd just like to say that I introduced this legislation earlier this year, but it was way back in February, and tonight I am pleased that it is being considered for enactment. While this and similar legislation across the country is often referred to as ban-the-box laws, essentially it is an aspect of fair hiring practices. The ordinance does not prevent the county from conducting background checks on employees or from considering their criminal background when it is related to the job for which the person is applying. It simply removes the question about criminal background from our application, allowing a person to be considered solely on their initial qualification. And it moves the consideration of criminal backgrounds to a point at which the person has been offered conditional employment. We have built-in exceptions for those positions which require more extensive and earlier background checks. I want to thank Ms. Conwell, who's really done a great deal of work on this, and the Human Resource Appointments and Equity Committee for their considered discussions on this ordinance. I know they have worked very closely with the Department of Human Resources, the Law Department, the County Office of Reentry, and the entire reentry community on this legislation. I am proud that Cuyahoga County is joining the ranks of those who will be removing barriers to employees for individuals who have paid their debts to society and want an opportunity to contribute more fully to the society. All right, is any other discussion on this?
Madam President.
Mr. Greenspan?
Thank you, Madam President. And I appreciate the work and effort that's gone into this, and I agree with this ordinance, as is with the exception that, and although I won't be supporting this tonight, it doesn't mean that I don't believe in what's going on and the purpose of this. But if the applicant, there are certain positions by state law that applicants within the county cannot apply for if they have certain misdemeanor or felony convictions. Having been in a position of hiring employees, it's been my practice to identify when applicable an applicant is unable to serve in a capacity, and I believe that this county should operate no differently. This doesn't mean that that applicants who don't have or whose misdemeanor or felony convictions will not preclude them from having the job. There are certain positions within Child and Family Services, as an example, that certain convictions you cannot work for the county. Those should be identified up front, so it's fair to the applicant, so they know that they're ineligible for the position. It's also more beneficial for the county not to go through the process of investing time and resources in an applicant that will wash out in the end because they're ineligible to hold the position. So I will not be supporting this for that specific reason. Not that I don't believe that removing the box when applicable is important, but I believe this is not an efficient piece of legislation in human resource practices. Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher?
I'd like to start by thanking Chairwoman Conwell for putting up with all of my questions and everything we dealt with going through this. And I can tell my colleague, Mr. Greenspan, those were the same concerns that I had, and I did the best I could to reshape this in a way in which I'd be a little bit more comfortable. But in the end, those that are ineligible for certain jobs will not get those. I have become comfortable with where we're at with this. We put an awful lot of work into this. We went from top to bottom on this thing, and while some things could have been done, such as that, it wasn't meant to be. And in the end, in speaking with HR Director Hera, she's comfortable that there are enough safeguards within this that, again, those that are ineligible for certain jobs within the county will not be getting them. All employees are screened anyhow. So, and the other thing is words have meaning, and I think things like bandbox and my other favorite hated poaching. In the future, hopefully we will get rid of these and maybe coin them a little bit better. But I will be supporting this, and I'd just like again to thank Chairwoman Conwell for all the time and effort and putting up with all of my perceived nonsense regarding this. I thank you very much, Chairwoman.
Mr. Schrein?
Yes, and I do congratulate all the effort and all the work that has gone in to try to make this as effective as possible. I do follow my colleague, Mr. Greenspan, in regards to the costs associated with the process of adding additional burdens upon the county that a bifurcated system would have brought the ability to say that certain jobs do not even make an application for. For example, if somebody were to be applying, and I heard Mr. Wade Steen's name come up earlier, if somebody were to be applying for something in a financial position and they have, based on their resume, a fantastic resume, being an accountant and all kinds of background like that, and only to find out that they had a conviction for some kind of a bribery or some other background, that will not kick out until later in the process. Meanwhile, you've gone through identifying candidates, and perhaps you would have even rejected qualified candidates that would have come out better based on the resume. It's my understanding that the background check will not kick in until after the time in which the job offer is being presented. So I'm not saying Mr. Steen's position, but somebody working within his office is my understanding of the way this would work, that the background check does not kick in as opposed to asking the question right up front on the application, knowing full well that some jobs, some positions, some aspects of perhaps dealing with children, things of that nature, you'd be asking those questions right up front. Do you have a criminal background record that might prohibit you from dealing with children or adults or something of that nature?
All right, if there's no further discussion. Yes.
I would just like to say my concern, if we don't support this ordinance as a county government, what are we saying to the outside businesses throughout the county? Not to mention putting people back to work. You must give a second chance. And I know there's been a lot of determination between the wording and things of that. And I think our committee did a wonderful job working with the law department as well as Director Hare and the administration to see their point of view and to make sure that the problems that you, Councilman Schrein and Greenspan have brought up are vetted through properly, and to make sure that the positions that will require certain people not to work there will not.
Madam President.
And can I respond, because specifically listed on that?
We have a proposed ordinance here, and it's been widely debated, so you want to have additional comments?
The only comment was that private business was referenced, and I do have a history of hiring people with that, with backgrounds that would not entail them being able to work in our financial or our personnel areas, but they do work in other parts of my company. I can assure you that that is not a prohibition in my company. But to say that we should go through the process that allows somebody to get all the way through the gate, only to find out at the end of the gate that they aren't a qualified candidate, is a waste of taxpayers' money. It's a waste of time, and could have also cost us the best quality candidates. So as much as we aren't going to let them go through the end gate, we also potentially have allowed this process to go on and to get somebody to that point.
Mr. Gallagher would like to respond.
In response, and I would hope we could move after this, because this is important as council people. If you have these questions, you should come to committee, because that's where these discussions are usually and should be held. And that discussion was exactly my point, which was voted on by the committee, and I lost on that 2-1. I didn't have any support from any other members of council at that period of time. It would have been very helpful had I, and that would have been the proper time to bring up these objections and concerns, which was the time in which I did. And you're making the point exactly that I made, and the concern that I had was putting somebody at the end where that you would pull the rug out from underneath them, and where are they? The cost to the county, actually, if we did it up front for everybody, would be more, so that was the balance that I took. Again, I'm comfortable moving forward where we're at. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's something that needs to be moved forward.
Madam President.
Yes, Mr. Germano.
I apologize because I haven't been at these meetings. There's only so many committee meetings you can attend. We have something that's not perfect, and it sounds to me like it can be corrected. I mean, basically, we have members of council that want to support this, but for that one provision, again, we already know that they're not eligible for that position. I'm thinking that this can be reworked so that it'll be acceptable to everyone.
Mr. Jamal, we have done a tremendous amount of work on this. We have met on this. We've worked with the law department. We have worked with the human resources. I mean, there will be asterisks to indicate that there are certain jobs that you're ineligible for, and there will be where you click on with the job application, there'll be indications that we know. I mean, if you're required to be a lawyer and you're not a lawyer, you can't get the job. The same thing, if you have certain criminal convictions, you will not be eligible for these positions, and you'll know that up front.
So, Madam Chair, what you're saying is that it has been perfected. We're not going to go through this.
Do you have a formal amendment?
I'm thinking that if this can be perfected, I'm recommending we send it back to committee.
Mr. Gallagher?
Madam Chair, I would make, then I would, to move us along, I would make the amendment that I made in committee, which would be to move the checks on the individuals searching for job employment with the county at the front end as opposed to the back end. That pretty much was it.
Okay, Madam Chair, so how would that work? Then the checks would come up early on in the stage, whether...
My thought was before the job was offered,
right,
which would have been fair. Now, where that falls in that process, I really wouldn't know. It's probably somewhere in the middle.
Can I suggest that this has been a work of labor for Joanne Gross and other people, and it has been really widely discussed and debated. What if we put it on again for the 28th and have an explanation to council before, a complete explanation of each item, or we can have each staff members go over each item of the ordinance with members and give a further explanation, rather than in voting on something, an amendment that everyone's not fully apprised of. Would that be acceptable to everyone?
Yeah. You're here because I thought this was covered and she was good with it. She's not here.
The director is not here. Would that be? We could just move this to the meeting of the 28th.
I don't know if Jennifer are you able to speak to it? I mean, this is something that's been talked about amongst council for. Right. open meetings, public meetings, you know.
Meetings.
Don't want to delay it.
Yes.
We are following recent EEOC guidelines with this. We can work within the parameters set forth in the ordinance. Sorry. We are following recent EEOC guidelines with this. We're willing to work within the parameters set forth in the ordinance. And we are tracking data also for applicants who do have criminal background hits on their checks. So,
If,
Madam President, recommendation, we have a committee of the whole meeting scheduled for the 28th. Maybe we can slot part of that time.
that's acceptable to me. I mean, it's been widely debated and widely discussed, and yeah, let's put it to the committee of the whole for the 28th. Okay. Item 0014.
Ordinance number 2012-0014, an ordinance adopting an equity plan for Cuyahoga County.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Schron and seconded by Ms. Conwell. Is there any discussion? Once again, Ms. Conwell and Mr. Miller have worked on this probably as many hours as the ban the box ordinance. So,
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm pleased to invite my colleagues to support enactment of the Cuyahoga County Equity Plan Ordinance. This legislation sends another signal that Cuyahoga County government is fair, just, and inclusive. Over about a year ago, I began working with Councilman Miller on an ordinance incorporating elements of a comprehensive equity plan originally proposed by a citizens group during the transition. We consulted various county departments and learned that there are major equity efforts in human resources, health and human services, contracting and procurement, and a host of other domains. Council wants those efforts reported on an annual basis so that we can appropriately acknowledge and continue to support equity in all areas of the county. Parts of this plan are aspirational and parts require implementation and reporting, but all are intended as a reflection of the county government that is open and welcoming to all people.
all right, is there any further discussion on this item?
Madam President,
Mr. Miller?
I would just like to add that to commend Councilwoman Conwell for leading a tremendous effort on this piece of legislation, and I'm happy to be a part of it, and I think it moves our county forward with a comprehensive and coordinated approach to equity. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The equity plan is adopted. Item,
Please add my name.
yeah, Mr. Jones, please.
I know, but I didn't get the motion.
And Mr. Germana?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, the clerk is just asking.
Can you just verify who made the motion and a second on that?
It was moved by Mr. Schrein and seconded by Ms. Conwell.
Thank you.
All right, item 14, consideration of resolutions for first reading adoption under suspension of the rules. There'll be suspension of Rule 12A and 90. Ms. Simon?
Madam President, I move that we suspend the rules.
Second.
All right, we moved and seconded to suspend the rules. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Item 0154.
Resolution number 2012-0154, a resolution proclaiming the month of August 2012 as Child Support Awareness Month in Cuyahoga County. Support your children, support their dreams, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Schron and seconded by Mr. Gallagher. I believe that we have Mr. Russ Kay here from Child Support Enforcement. If you'd like to come forward, please.
Good evening, Madam President and members of the council. I am Russ Kay, Deputy Director of Special Services at the Cuyahoga Child Support Enforcement Agency. Thank you. And you and my colleague.
Hi, good evening. My name is Anthony Sharaba, and I'm the Deputy Director of Client Services.
And we are here today for your kind consideration to request that August be declared as Child Support Awareness Month in Cuyahoga County. The theme this year, and this is a state and national effort, the theme is to support your children, support their dreams, which recognizes and celebrates parents who are committed to helping their children realize their dreams. And for further comment, Mr. Sharaba.
Thank you, Dr. Kay. Our child support professionals interact daily with hundreds of employers, insurance providers, the courts, law enforcement, and parents to establish and enforce child support orders for the benefit of the child to receive the financial and medical support they deserve. So on behalf of our agency, the Child Support Program, and the 136,000 families we currently serve, we thank you for your recognition and resolution.
We have a formal version of our resolution signed by County Executive Fitzgerald and myself. I won't read the whole resolution, but it provides that the Cuyahoga County Executive and Cuyahoga County Council wishes to proclaim August Child Support Awareness Month, and with some appropriate verbiage, and we will hand that to you this evening with congratulations and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And we got to pass it first. Sorry, we'll take it back to no, it's okay. All right, all those in favor of the resolutions making August Child Support Awareness Month, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. Congratulations. All right, item 15, consideration of a resolution for first reading adoption under suspension of the rule, and that was item that's going to go to executive session. But we still have to, these two are going to go to executive session, and 0155 and 0156. Item 16, consideration of resolutions for first reading and referral to committee.
Resolution number 2012-0153, a resolution amending the 2012-2013 biennial operating budget for 2012 by providing for additional fiscal appropriations from the general fund and other funding sources for appropriation transfers between budget accounts and for cash transfers between budgetary funds in order to meet the budgetary needs of various county departments, offices, and agencies, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Yes, Mr. Miller.
Before this item is referred to committee, and at the executive's request, I would like to move that we accept the substitute resolution which has been distributed. The substitute resolution merely changes a couple of the index codes. It's technical in nature, and there's no change in the dollar amounts. And I would ask if someone could second that motion.
I moved in by Mr. Miller and seconded by Mr. Germana to substitute the item. Any discussion on the substitution? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The resolution is substituted. This is an item that originally was on the agenda to go under suspension of the rule, but because of the nature of the items on it, we're going to send it to the Finance Committee. So item 0153 will be going to the Finance Committee.
Madam President, yes. I would just add that this resolution is being used as a vehicle for the mid-year budget consideration process. Thank you.
All right, item 0157.
Resolution number 2012-0157, a resolution authorizing the appropriation of real property for the reconstruction of Ridge Road from Interstate 480 to Memphis Avenue in the city of Brooklyn, directing the county executive to proceed with the acquisition of real property required for public highway purposes, authorizing the fiscal officer to issue the monetary warrants to be deposited with the probate court of Cuyahoga County in an amount that is equal to the fair market value of the property, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the properties as listed on the agenda, item 16B 1 through 6.
And this item will go to Public Works.
2012-0158, a resolution authorizing the Department of Public Works to submit a loan application to the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency Water Pollution Control Loan Fund for a loan in the amount of $350,000 for a new sanitary sewer structure to provide sanitary sewer services in the city of Parma on Broadview Road between Brookdale Avenue and Broad Rock Court for the period March 15, 2013 through September 15, 2013, and authorizing the county executive to execute all documents required in connection with said loan application.
This matter will go to Public Works.
Resolution number 2012-0159, a resolution authorizing the Department of Public Works to submit a loan application to the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency Water Pollution Control Loan Fund for a forgivable loan in the amount of $154,000 for repair and replacement of household sewage treatment systems for the period September 15, 2012 through September 15, 2013, authorizing the county executive to execute all documents required in connection with said loan application.
Matter will go to Public Works.
Resolution number 2012-0160, a resolution authorizing a payment to Cleveland Public Power in the amount not to exceed $2,190,984.28 for utility relocation work awarded on RQ 24294 in connection with the improvement of East 156th Street, 105th Street, Martin Luther King Drive intersection in the city of Cleveland, and declaring necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
I grew up in that neighborhood. It goes to Public Works.
Write it backwards. Resolution number 2012-0161, a resolution making an award on RQ 23057 to Independence Excavating Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $3,465,525.85 for the Cuyahoga Area of Concern Urban Riparian Habitat Restoration Project in the city of Cleveland, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with said award and this resolution, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
It goes to Public Works.
Resolution number 2012-0162, a resolution making awards to various municipalities in the total amount not to exceed $1,492,641.88 for various municipal grant projects for the Community Development Block Grant Program for the period September 1, 2012 through December 31, 2013, authorizing the county executive to enter into agreements consistent with said awards in this resolution, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective to the municipalities in the amounts not to exceed as listed on the agenda, item 16G, 1 through 8.
This matter will go to Public Works.
Resolution number 2012-0163, a resolution supporting submission of applications on behalf of Cuyahoga County for third round funding under the Local Government Innovation Fund available through the State of Ohio Department of Development, authorizing the county executive and Department of Directors to take all steps necessary in furtherance of this goal, including entering into partnership initiatives, memoranda of understanding with any other potential partners, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This matter will go to Economic Development.
Resolution number 2012-0164, a resolution making an award on RQ 23994 to AmeriCab Transportation Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $3 million for transportation services for the Division of Employment and Family Services for the period September 1, 2012 through August 31, 2014. Authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with said award and this resolution, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Let's go to Health and Human Services.
Resolution number 2012-0165, a resolution authorizing amendment to contract number CE1100151 with Guidestone, formerly known as Berea Children's Home, for community-based treatment center management services for the period January 1, 2011 through June 30, 2012, to extend the time period to June 30, 2013, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $1,253,828.80, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This matter will go to Justice Affairs.
Resolution number 2012-0166, a resolution making awards on RQ 23154 to various providers for defending childhood treatment services for the period July 18, 2012 through September 30, 2013 authorizing the county executive to execute the contracts, agreement, and all other documents consistent with said awards in this resolution, and declaring the necessity of this resolution become immediately effective to the providers in any amounts not to exceed as printed on the agenda, items 16K 1 through 7.
This matter will go to Justice Affairs.
Resolution number 2012-0167, a resolution making an award on RQ 23815 to URS Corporation in the amount not to exceed $1,998,827 for professional architectural engineering services related to the county's real estate portfolio consolidation project, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with said award in this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
This item involves a contract for architectural services in connection with the sale of properties that have been undertaken by the county executive. Those sales will ultimately have to be approved by this council. We have approved a contract for a company to conduct the sales. We know that the process has already started to engage legal counsel for these sales. This proposed contract would engage an architectural firm to consider the structural aspects of the buildings, which is normal and necessary for this process. This item was placed on the agenda at the request of the executive with a lot of staff time to make it happen. Council members in all due diligence have read over the items and have been prepared to consider it at this meeting, as have members of the public. However, in reading the newspaper this morning, it was reported that this item had been withdrawn from the agenda. This is the first information that I had. By rule of council, the agenda is set by council president. As I stated, council members have reviewed this item, as have the public in preparation. I have not been informed as to the reason for the request by the executive for the removal of the item. If there was a procedural problem, council was not advised. As a result, I am going to proceed in the manner that I originally anticipated, and that is to refer this matter to the Properties Committee for the questions to be answered. The executive has set a very precise timetable for this entire process. A delay of this item would surely cause further delay to the existing timetable. In anticipation of this meeting, I conferred with staff, and we set a meeting time for the committee for August the 23rd at 11:30, so that meeting will go forward. At this time, I will anticipate that the executive will advise us as to the problems as to this item, and we can continue in our most diligent effort to gather all the information necessary to reach a thoughtful and proper decision regarding the sales of these properties. The decision regarding the sale or retention of these properties are one of the most important decisions this council will make in the coming year. And we want to make sure that all the information possible is available to us and to the public, to the voters and to the public who sent us to this office, because we feel that the interests of the county and the voters must be properly served. So this matter will be going to the Property Committee on August the 23rd. Item 17.
Madam President.
Mr. Fitzgerald, this is council's meeting, and this is the only time we have an opportunity to address each other. And you said it wanted to be withdrawn. We had no reason, so we're ready to proceed.
You're going to deny me the opportunity to speak to an item that's on the agenda?
Mr. Fitzgerald, I had to read in the newspaper this morning this item was withdrawn. You talked to me around 4 o'clock, and I was available all evening. I had no idea this item was going to be withdrawn.
You're seriously going to say that at an open council meeting with an agenda item that we've submitted and tried to withdraw, that you're actually going to deny me or anybody else, quite frankly, any member of the public that would want to? I mean, just because I'm elected office doesn't mean I have surrendered rights of members of the public to speak to an agenda item. Now,
we don't necessarily have anyone speak to our agenda item.
I'm not asking, by the way, to interfere with the discussions between council. If there's any council members that would like to have a dialogue amongst themselves,
Mr. Fitzgerald, if you'd like to make your comments, please proceed. But the public or no one else has an opportunity just to interject themselves into our agenda. But go ahead.
Well, I think that the courtesy that's generally been extended is that when there is a member of the administration that is a party to the item that's before you, and if you're going to make representations about what's happened, that it makes sense to, just in terms of courtesy, to allow them an opportunity to speak to it. If you don't want to, it's certainly your meeting. If you want to deny me the right to speak at the meeting, I don't think that's a good idea, because I don't think it's in the best interest of good government, quite frankly. But let me just say, there has been a lot of discussion and consideration about this, and we appreciate council's diligence on it. I wasn't happy with the final form that it was submitted to council in, and I made that determination yesterday evening, and I asked my staff to communicate that to council. That, I believe, I've been told, was communicated to council staff this morning. If it was not, then
I read it in the
council,
newspaper at 6 o'clock this morning.
Okay, I'm trying to run through for you what the timeline was. So yesterday evening, I made the determination, and that was my decision, that I wanted to have it withdrawn. So at the beginning of business hours, I believe this morning, I'd asked my staff to have it withdrawn. And by the way, in legislative bodies, I mean, there's other folks on council that have served in legislative bodies. This happens all the time. If you submit an item and you want to withdraw an item, you generally are at liberty to do so. So I thought that we had communicated that. If my staff didn't communicate it this morning to your staff, then I'm sorry that didn't happen. But what my intention was not to have a debate or committee hearing about a proposal that the details of which are still changing and we're not putting forward in the form that had been submitted to you previously. If you want to schedule a committee meeting about an item that in its current form we are not proposing, you can do so. If you need something more formal for us to withdraw it, I can give it to you in any form you want. I can give it to you in a certified letter or anything you want. But generally, the just collegiality that's happened between the branches is, if we're the proposers of an item and we're asking to have it withdrawn, then it's withdrawn.
Well, Mr. Fitzgerald, you talked to me like 4 o'clock, and somebody could call me last night. I mean, you talked to the Plain Dealer, you didn't talk to us.
The Plain Dealer called me and asked me about the item, and there were there were elements of the item that I wasn't comfortable with, and I spoke with my chief of staff, my public works director, and I said there are certain elements of this, partly, by the way, because I think we have to be so careful about the details of this proposal. I said there's certain parts of it that, even though I think that they're defensible and appropriate, I want to make it completely clear before we present it to the public. And I wasn't satisfied that had happened. You're certainly correct. I could have called you yesterday evening and told you that was my decision last night. I thought that my staff was going to notify the council first thing in the morning. And again, I have to say, I was a mayor for 3 years and I was a council person for 9 years. Multiple items that would be pulled from council agendas. You certainly, which as a mayor or council person, I wasn't always given lots of notice beforehand. I want council to be able to deliberate over what I'm actually proposing, not something that I proposed and then decided to withdraw because I didn't feel it was in final form. If you were offended because you read about it in the paper as opposed to being notified late last night, I'm sorry.
I believe that the committee and the public would like to know the nature. If you don't get, apparently there's a process that you hire an architectural firm for in the course of this process. We've hired the people that are actually going to sell the real estate, and we're talking about hiring lawyers, and apparently there's a necessity to hire this architectural firm, whether it's this firm or any other firm. My interest at the committee would be to have an explanation as to what these kinds of people do and what is the scope of their work. And I think that would be very informative for us for making a decision whether you hire this company or any other company. So that would be the reason for the public, for the hearing.
I agree, Madam President. What I'm saying is that we believe we've communicated that we're withdrawing this item. And if you need something more formally in writing, if you want to have a committee meeting on any of the process, you're certainly welcome to do that. But I think just going forward, there are going to be many times where either a council person or a member of the administration drafts something that they intend to be considered on the council docket, and then something happens because it's a dynamic process and variables change, and you decide you want it to be withdrawn. It doesn't mean it short circuits the discussion or prevents a discussion of any element of the process that we're doing.
This matter will be on for the 23rd, 11:30. We'll be here for our committee meeting. Next item on the agenda is item 17. Committee reports and consideration of resolution for second reading under adoption of Rule 9D. Ms. Simon?
Thank you, Madam President. I move we suspend the rules.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Item 0139.
Resolution number 2012-0139, a resolution authorizing an economic development loan in the amount not to exceed $3 million to the Lincoln Electric Company for renovation of a property located at 22801 St. Clair Avenue, Euclid, authorizing the Deputy Chief of Staff of Development or Director of Development to execute all documents consistent with said loan in this resolution.
Madam President, move to adopt. How about that? We'll do that.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Schron, seconded by Ms. Simon.
Yeah. Well, sorry, that was your district. Sorry about that. We'll both get a chance to compliment and congratulate on this project, and I don't know if there's anybody going to come speak on behalf of it. I'd be happy to, as Chair of Economic Development. We've got some folks, we have the Mayor of Euclid, we have representatives from Lincoln Electric here, and from the Department of Development, and so it's one of these cheerleading projects. It's fun to get behind, and it's also an example of council or our executive director as far as his setting forth a vision for the $100 million fund and how it's being actually put to use right here today, and so pretty exciting stuff.
Good evening. Laura Clark, Senior Development Finance Analyst.
Is that your assistant back there?
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. It is. Her name is Ellie. She's 7. She'll be here soon. Thank you for pushing this matter along this evening. We were content to move at council speed, but we really appreciate the fact that you were able to move this along a little more efficiently for the company. As you know, we're incredibly excited about Lincoln Electric's acquisition of Tech Alloy and the relocation of the company from Maryland to their facility in Euclid. For those of you that are not aware, this project will create 100 new jobs in Cuyahoga County, and Lincoln Electric has pledged to retain 1,900 jobs in Cuyahoga County for 18 years. I have Mayor Cervenik of Euclid who'd like to address you first, please.
Good evening, members of council, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to thank you for considering passage of this ordinance and the loan for Lincoln Electric. Lincoln Electric is the city of Euclid's largest employer, and this is probably 4 or 5 different types of investments and programs that they've done in the city of Euclid for expansion. And I can tell you that we appreciate their investment in Euclid, and I have Rick Trevisano here from Lincoln. So that you know the importance of Lincoln, they have always lived up to what they said they were going to do. In fact, they've always exceeded their predictions of job creation and sales. And I'm sure that the city of Euclid, the county, the state, we've had partnerships in the past with Lincoln and other companies, and this is probably one of the best. The creation of at least 100 jobs, the retooling of their plant is all very good for long-range stability in the city of Euclid's industrial corridor. I also really do need, as we began this, we received tremendous support from the county executive, Ed Fitzgerald, from Nate Kelly, Director Larry Benders, and of course Laura Clark, who was just up here. They helped us to develop this competitive package, and it really made a big difference. And their hard work and expeditious work made Lincoln understand that we want them to stay in Cuyahoga County. They're a great corporate citizen in the city of Euclid County as well as the region. And I'm here again to ask your support for this loan and your thanks for your cooperation in the committee meetings as well. And again, county executive and everyone else's cooperation. It shows that we are serious about economic development and job creation in Cuyahoga County and northeastern Ohio. Thank you.
Madam President, I just want to say that Euclid has tremendous leadership. As much as the county stepped up in Lincoln Electric, I just want to point out that Mayor Cervenik and his staff and his Economic Development Director, Frank Petrovoya, who's here, have worked so hard and have shown great leadership in Euclid, and really can stand out as a model of how our different cities and municipalities can move forward under sometimes difficult circumstances and considering the inner-ring suburbs. So I just want to give them credit for really shining out, and I'm proud to represent Euclid and the leadership there.
Yes, and one last series of comments in regards to this represents the third item that's been identified under County Executive Fitzgerald's $100 million Western Reserve Fund, in which we are utilizing that vision, and the vision has touched downtown Cleveland, it has touched first ring suburbs now, and it's also touched out to the outer ring suburbs, so equally dispersed throughout the entire region of the county, and I think that that's a congratulations to how those funds are being dispersed on an entire countywide basis. My congratulations, because my understanding is that 80+% of every wind turbine touches a Lincoln. By the same token, also the oil and gas exploration. So we touch both ends of the scale here, as far as the folks on both the environmental side and on the alternative energy side, as far as where it's going. And congratulations to Lincoln on this new expansion.
All right, no further discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Congratulations. Item 0140.
Resolution number 2012-0140, a resolution authorizing amendments to contracts with various providers for employment connection, one-stop operation, and services to adult job seekers for the period July 1, 2010 through June 30, 2012, to extend the time period to June 30, 2013, and for additional funds, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendments and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective to the providers in any amounts not to exceed as printed on the agenda, item 17B, 1 through 4.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Schron, seconded by Ms. Conwell. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right, item 0141.
Resolution number 2012-0141, a resolution authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 1000585 with United Labor Agency Incorporated for employment connection employer services for the period July 1, 2010 through June 30, 2012, to extend the time period to June 30, 2013, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $1,400,000, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Schron, seconded by Ms. Conwell. Any discussion on this?
No.
All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Please add Mr. Brady. Item 0145.
Resolution number 2012-0145, a resolution authorizing the appropriation of real property for the reconstruction of Ridge Road from Interstate 480 to Memphis Avenue in the city of Brooklyn, directing the county executive to proceed with the acquisition of real property required for public highway purposes, authorizing the fiscal officer to issue the monetary warrants to be deposited with the probate court of Cuyahoga County in an amount that is equal to the fair market value of the property, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective for the properties as listed on the agenda, item 17D, 1 through 4.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right, moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Mr. Miller. Any discussion on this? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Item 0146.
Resolution number 2012-0146, a resolution making an award on RQ 23731 to Lane N. Liner, LLC, in the amount not to exceed $3,006,100 for the 2012 sewer lining program for various county sewer districts, and authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with said award in this resolution.
Move to adopt.
I'm sorry, moved by Mr. Jones and seconded by Mr. Jabana. All right, any discussion on that? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it.
Resolution number 2012-0147, a resolution amending resolution number 2011-0257, which authorized the issuance and sale of self-supporting housing revenue bonds in the amount not to exceed $5 million for Helen S. Brown Apartments, LP, for the purpose of rehabilitating, improving, and equipping a senior housing facility for low and moderate income seniors, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Moved by Mr. Rogers. Seconded by Mr. Brady. Any discussion on this item?
Just a comment that this is just using the good offices for these $5 million, and again, an excellent project that came forth.
All right, any other further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. 0149.
Resolution number 2012-0149, a resolution authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 1100531 with Starting Point for administrative services for the out-of-school time program for MyCom for the period October 1, 2011 through September 30, 2012, to extend the time period to August 31, 2013, to change the scope of services effective July 24, 2012, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $1,500,000, authorizing the county executive to execute the amendment and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Madam Chairman, move approval.
Moved by Mr. Brady. Seconded by Mr. Schrein. Any discussion on this item?
Madam Chairperson, this resolution amends a contract with Cuyahoga County's state-designated Child Care and Resource Center, Starting Point, to provide additional administrative services for a variety of out-of-school and summer programming, such as tutoring, college access programming, and kindergarten support services. This is 100% Health and Human Service levy funds.
All right, any discussion on this item? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All right, the ayes have it. Item 0150.
Number 2012-0150, a resolution authorizing an agreement with The Ohio State University in the amount not to exceed $250,000 for Youth Advisory Committee services for the period May 1, 2012 through April 30, 2014, authorizing the county executive to execute the agreement and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move approval.
Moved by Mr. Brady, seconded by Ms. Conwell. Any discussion on this?
Madam Chairperson, this agreement provides funding for a state-mandated youth advisory committee. The Ohio State University Extension provides more than 300 county youth with leadership opportunities in the areas of planning and facilitating meetings, public speaking, and developing multimedia skills, participation in local and state and national youth conferences, and engagement with public officials. The delay in the contract processing is due to the timing of the RFP process. And Ohio State University's review of the agreement, which took longer than expected, is 100% H&H funds.
Any other discussion on this item? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All right, the ayes have it. Item 0151.
Resolution number 2012-0151, a resolution authorizing a contract with Educational Service Center of Cuyahoga County in the amount not to exceed $845,911 for fiscal and administrative services for the Help Me Grow Bright Beginnings program for the period July 1, 2012 through June 30, 2013, authorizing the county executive to execute the contract and all other documents consistent with this resolution, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Moved by Mr. Brady, seconded by Ms. Conwell. Any discussion on this item?
Madam Chairperson, this contract provides home visits for an additional 574 families considered at risk by the Division of Children and Family Services. The visits provide parenting and child development education and service coordination for children up to the age of 3. The state funding cuts had reduced the eligibility to 6 months in 2009. This county funds allow for more families to be served for longer periods. It's mostly Health and Human Service funds, but I want to notify the council that there is $100,000 in here from the Mount Sinai Foundation, which we very much appreciate.
Matter? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Item 18, consideration of a resolution for third reading adoption. This item actually was brought by the executive. It should really say consideration of a resolution for third reading of the executive for adoption. But item 0103.
Resolution number 2012-0103, a resolution providing for the submission to the electors of the County of Cuyahoga an amendment to Article 2, Section 2.03, and Article 9, Section 4 of the Charter of Cuyahoga County, and declaring a necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Madam President,
Mr. Greenspan?
this was an item that we had trouble in Committee of the Whole understanding. I would like to make a motion that this item be deferred to the Charter Review Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Greenspan and seconded by Mr. Schron to move this item to the Charter Review Commission. Is there any other discussion on this item? All right, all those in favor of voting to go to the Charter Review Commission, well, I guess we should probably call the roll on this one. Call the roll.
Calling the roll, Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Ms. Simon? Yes. Mr. Greenspan? Yes. Mr. Miller? Yes. Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Germana?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Mr. Schron?
Yes.
Ms. Conwell? No. Mr. Jones? Yes. Ms. Connolly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, this matter will go to the Charter Review Commission. Item 19, consideration of ordinances for first reading and referral to committee.
Ordinance number 2012-0023, an ordinance providing for adoption of various changes to the Cuyahoga County non-bargaining classification plan and declaring a necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
Let's go to Human Resources.
Ordinance number 2012-0024, an ordinance providing for adoption of various changes to the Cuyahoga County non-bargaining salary schedules and declaring a necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
This matter will go to Human Resources.
Ordinance number 2012-0025, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2011-0028, which adopted the Cuyahoga County Human Resources Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual to amend Section 6.12 to mandate the use of direct deposit for paying employees compensation effective August 14, 2012, and declaring a necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
This matter goes to Human Resources. Item 20, committee report and consideration of ordinance for second reading.
Ordinance number 2012-0019, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2011-0039 as amended, which established procedures governing the use by the county of alternate construction project delivery methods, including construction manager at risk, design build, and general contracting project delivery methods for public construction projects, and declaring a necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
This matter will be on for third reading on the meeting of August 28th. Item 21, committee reports and consideration of ordinances for second reading under suspension of the rules. We need a motion to suspend Rule 9D. Ms. Simon?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Simon and seconded by Mr. Gallagher, suspend Rule 9D. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Item 0021.
Ordinance number 2012-0021, an ordinance reorganizing the Board of the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste Management District to enable its members to attend through alternates and declaring a necessity that this ordinance become immediately effective.
Move to adopt. Second.
All right. Any discussion on this item?
Madam President, this ordinance essentially allows the members of the board of the County Solid Waste Management District, which includes the county executive, the director of public works, and a member of council appointed by the council president. We've sometimes had some difficulty scheduling meetings, and this is one of the few boards that we have appointed authority over that does not have alternates. So this gives the executive and the director of public works the opportunity to appoint an alternate to serve in their place if they can't attend a meeting, and also allows the council president to appoint two alternates from the council to serve in their place.
All right. Any other discussion on this item? All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The ayes have it. Before we go into executive session, do we have any miscellaneous committee reports?
Madam President.
Yes.
Because of how much is on our plate, the Finance and Budget Committee is going to meet on both Monday, August the 10th, and the 27th, both at 1 p.m. And the major items are the mid-year budget, the land bank funding legislation, the preference for county business, and the county benefits contract. Thank you.
All right, anything further, Mr. Schron?
Mr. Miller, I assume you meant August 20th, not the 10th, but that's, is that...
Did I say the 10th?
It's not a problem, because I was planning on putting a meeting on the back end of it, and I didn't know how to do one in retrograde.
August 10th is Carol and my anniversary, so it's just a matter of being influenced by love.
What a nice segue. That was great save on that.
That was awesome.
Do you anticipate your meeting going beyond 3 o'clock? On the 20th or the 10th? That's right. On the 20th and the 27th. No, on the 20th, will you go beyond 3 o'clock? Because I would put my Economic Development Committee right on the back end of that, because I see we have some things assigned.
No, we'll finish at 3 o'clock.
Okay. And Mr. Kelly has asked to do an update for economic development on the $100 million fund and the next piece of rolling off of the components. So if that works for you, we'll do a 3 o'clock on the 20th. So that way there's a lot of commonality between committee members. Thank you.
Any other miscellaneous business? Yes.
Public Works Committee meeting will meet Thursday at 11 o'clock to deal with the items given today and to have an update from the administration on the disparity study progress as far as what we need to do to bring the cost down on the disparity study.
Is there any public signed in unrelated to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair, no one has signed in.
Just, Madam President, before we conclude, I wanted to schedule Justice Affairs on the 24th. There were 2 items referred, so that would be the 24th at 11:30.
Okay. And so we have to go back to item 15 on the agenda for the executive session. All meetings of the Cuyahoga County Council are open to the public under the Ohio Open Meetings Law. Under that law, council may go into executive session during a meeting for specifically authorized purposes. During executive session, council confers outside the hearing of the public. Council may not make any decision about any matters in executive session. All decisions are made in public. This evening, council will go into executive session to discuss a matter regarding labor negotiations and collective bargaining. During this time, our live stream will be down, and we will ask all of those who are not specifically involved in executive session to leave council chambers. Anyone may re-enter at the end of this executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of labor negotiations?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Mr. Greenspan. Please call the roll.
Calling the roll, moving to executive session. Mr. Rogers? Yes. Ms. Simon? Yes. Mr. Greenspan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller? Yes. Mr. Brady? Yes. Mr. Germana?
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Mr. Schron?
Yes.
Ms. Conwell? Yes. Mr. Jones? Yes. Ms. Connolly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the ayes have it. We'll go into executive session. And I guess we have Law Director Mr. Morales and Mr. Chris Russ. And Melvin, okay. All right, and everybody else would clear the room, please.